we've become neurotic. We are walking around afraid. I think the first thing to do to be healthy about how you take care of yourself is to calm down.
TV and radio's Dr. Dean Edell today on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson. What scary medical story did you hear in the news today? Was it about some exotic disease that's suddenly running rampant? Or maybe it was a story about a food we've enjoyed all our lives that now is considered dangerous. Or maybe it's a prescription drug you've been taking for 20 years that's now obsolete. Calm down. Calm down. That is the two-word prescription for good health from Dr. Dean Edell. Now, in his 2004 book called Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Healthiness, the popular Dr. Dean Edell brought some perspective and some common sense to the often very scary world of medical news. SARS, West Nile virus, mad cow disease, these were all top of mind for people 20 years ago. Maybe they still are for some people, but are they worth agonizing over? In just a moment, my conversation with Dr. Dean Edell.
As the saying goes, if you haven't heard it, it's new to you. Here's an interview from the 30-year archive of radio personality, Bill Thompson. Enjoy.
So here now, from 2004, Dr. Dean Edell.
I am so glad that you have written this book of common sense and have finally acknowledged what those of us here in the news business, those of us just common, ordinary citizens have known, that one week they'll tell us eggs are good for you. The next week, eggs will kill you. Now, you heard the report, I'm sure, a few months ago. Sunscreen now not only doesn't prevent skin cancer, it causes skin cancer.
I know, they drive us crazy.
How are we supposed to know what to believe?
It's very, very hard because I like to think that people will believe experts as opposed to the marketers, which we believe a little too frequently. And yet the experts confuse us. And a part of the problem, I think, is in media, very often we're fed all this stuff and we're not told the perspective, I think, that's important, namely the weight of the evidence. What did the previous 10 studies show? Not today, because when you look at the literature in some of these issues, you will see it always was one way. It's just when the exception arises, the media makes a big deal about it and the public thinks, well, that should be given equal weight. When the truth is that eggs were probably okay all along. The estrogen fiasco is a good example of that. And 25 years ago, every gynecologist in town wanted to string me up because, not that I knew it was harmful, but I knew there wasn't really the evidence that every woman on the face of the earth when she reaches 50 should take estrogens. That was kind of major claim, major proof. And the fact that the design of the human body is faulty would be a major claim and therefore needs pharmaceutical help at 50, just never cut it. And we knew there was no real evidence to support it. So it wasn't a surprise when the good double-blind studies came out to find indeed it was not a good thing. So it's got to be tough for the public who want to do what's right for themselves. And they're constantly bounced around. And then you mix in the marketing and the hype.
I was just going to say, those of us in the news media who breathlessly report some of these studies, mea culpa, some of us forget to look at that bottom line where it says the study that French fries are really good for you in a study funded by McDonald's.
Absolutely.
You have to look at the source, too.
Absolutely. The diet industry is a good example of this. These people have the challenge of every year coming up with a new diet. There are only 3 macronutrients, protein, carbohydrates, and fat. So every year they got to come up with a new twist on basically 2 kinds of diets, high carb, low carb. And they managed to do it. They managed to suck us in every year with some new name, some new hype, and we all go for it. So I'm hoping people will stay calm and start to think a little about this.
Well, your book is a beacon of common sense in this wide, vast ocean of misinformation. I love the format of your book, too, by the way, because obviously what you've done is take actual questions from real people, not planted questions or not clinicians' questions, These are questions that people really want to know the answer to. Is it all right if my toddler eats gook from the carpet?
Right, right. Glad to hear you say that, because that was scary in the beginning when we considered this. Do people really want to read about other people's questions? And I thought, I do this for a living. People call a radio show and I answer the questions. And I thought to myself, most Ask the Doctor columns are, Dr. Edell, what's a pimple? That isn't how it happens. Normally, it's my son is 17 years old and he's depressed about his acne. And if I take Accutane, it might cause suicide. And what the reality of it, I think, is the reality of it is interesting, is voyeuristic, and it's really the way medical problems are addressed.
I'm guessing you have probably never had a question from someone that was unique to that individual only on planet Earth. I mean, every question that somebody has, somebody else maybe is too shy to ask. Maybe they're too embarrassed to ask. Maybe they can't even ask the family doctor that they've known for 30 years.
I think you're absolutely right. And that part is interesting to me. People will call a radio program, oh, I'm too embarrassed to ask my doctor, and they'll ask a question in front of the multitudes.
Millions on national radio.
I know. It's quite remarkable. I take it as a compliment. They feel that intimacy. And, of course, there's anonymity of radio and the embarrassment face-to-face with a physician, which people should never have. So we decided to go for it and do this in question and answer format, because this is really what's on people's minds. This is what is on the public's minds, as opposed to an author deciding what you're supposed to know. This is, I think, what the public is wondering about when they put the little heads down on the pillows at night.
Oh, absolutely. And yours is I have to tell you, I've been a recipient as an author interviewer over the years of every kind of medical encyclopedia, medical reference book that there is, and I've got them all on my shelf, all the Johns Hopkins and the Mayo Clinic and all this kind of stuff. I've never seen any book until yours that had a side-by-side chart. Do you have the cold? Do you have the flu? Here's the symptoms that tell you have a cold. Here's the symptoms that tell you have a flu. I've never seen such a simple little box anywhere in any book before.
Oh, good. Thank you. Well, I get asked that question a lot. And when I answer it spontaneously, I say, well, the flu has a fever, the cold doesn't. The flu has this, the cold doesn't. And I thought, hey, why not just put that in two columns and help people see the difference? Because the truth is, this is a huge burden on our medical care system. If people stop running to doctors for colds and taking antibiotics for colds, the money we could save and the good that we could do would be of a major impact. And so it is a practical aspect to it, because people are confused by colds and flus.
Well, especially right now when we're told the flu is epidemic, it is sweeping the country. If you didn't get your flu shot, tough luck, because they've completely run out of it, we're told. And, the supplies are coming from Europe by summer and things like this. If you haven't had a flu shot, you start to get a little runny nose, you're kind of achy. Does that mean you have the flu? Does it mean you... what could it mean?
Yes, no, it's an excellent question, because it turns out if you survey 100 people who think they have the flu, only 40% of them will have the flu. We're that confused by it. One of the reasons is most infectious diseases begin with similar symptoms. Even HIV, when HIV first manifests, it feels very much like the flu. So a lot of viruses and a lot of diseases can begin that way. And flu is worth respecting. The media's we don't know yet whether this year, looking back, which is the only way we will know from the point of view of the future, whether this is a horrible year, because in an average year, maybe 300 people a day die from the flu. If the media starts reporting every one of them, of course, it's going to seem like this is the Black Death all over again. And yet, it is worth respecting. The 1918 flu is horrible. 20, 30 million people die. But an average year, 30,000 people in America succumb to the flu. So while we're worried about mad cow disease and worried about SARS and worried, about West Nile virus, these are not worth worrying about. Flu is worth thinking about anyway, because it's pretty common.
After this short break, Dr. Dean Edell's two-word prescription for good health.
Are you enjoying this conversation so far? And would you like to get a copy of the book we're talking about?
Just tap the link in our show notes or visit our website, heardeverything.com.
When you make a purchase through our affiliate links, you're also supporting this podcast.
And we thank you for your support.
Now back to my 2004 conversation with Dr. Dean Edell.
But also, I think that's one of the points you're making in your book, isn't it? Is that we have become so flooded not only with maybe misguided information or misinformation, but just information. I mean,
Yes.
good, valid information. Every time you eat a burger, oh my gosh, where did this come from? I'm going to get mad cow. It's almost summer. Mosquitoes, they're going to get West Nile virus. If I get a mosquito bite, oh my gosh, it's just this thing on my neck. I'll bet it's skin cancer because I didn't put sunblock there. We can have too much caution, can't we?
Absolutely. You have focused on the core issue here. We've become neurotic. We are walking around afraid. And I don't blame people. I mean, this is really what news does. We report the negatives and the scary things. And I think the first thing to do to be healthy about how you take care of yourself is to calm down. You're not going to drop dead tomorrow. These diseases are often very rare. Mad cow disease, there may be 120 cases in the whole world. You're more likely to win the lottery. So I think that people, when they're frightened, they often make mistakes and do silly things and things that are not really practical or that make sense from a statistical point of view. So when they look out at this landscape, really think about the numbers. When you hear in the media about a particular disease or illness, think about how likely that is, put it in perspective, and then maybe you can calm down a little. I see people are so anxious about their health, they're really not having a fun life. And being anxious about your health is bad for your health. That's the funniest part of it, really. It's a negative deal. Life is to be enjoyed and to be savored, and as Americans, and these are tough times, we've kind of lost that. French are way better than we are at this, by the way. They don't care. They're not so concerned how long they live. We want the big numbers. We want to live as long as possible. If we're miserable and pain and disabled, give me the numbers. Where the French want to live well, and they'll accept a shorter life if it's a life well lived and enjoyed. And I think we could use a little of that, because no matter what, you can't count. You cannot count on how long you're going to live. And we do the craziest things. I mean, one of the better examples, I think, is, and it's a mathematical calculation, because you can't put people in cages, feed them one way and feed another group another way and wait 90 years to see who dies first. So you have to use mathematical models. But if everybody in America ate a healthier diet, from a public health perspective, there would be great savings, but for the individual, the average lifespan might increase 4 months. Nobody ever thinks that 4 months comes maybe when you're 85 in your diapers in a nursing home. You don't want to miss that, of course, But we make ourselves miserable for a few crummy months at the end of our lives, as opposed to enjoying the things that we do. And if your health plan is not enjoyable, you're not going to do it. If you don't like treadmills, don't do it.
And you see, that sums up exactly why a few years ago I decided I was going to start eating hot dogs again, which I started avoiding because of the nitrosamines or whatever in them. I thought, a hot dog every couple of weeks is not going to kill me.
It's a good thing.
If I lose 4 months, when I'm 85 and in diapers, that's okay. I can live with that.
Absolutely right. And as a matter of fact, there is now good research to support the fact, and hot dogs is a great example. If I were to put someone on a diet and they loved hot dogs, the new research says you force that person to eat hot dogs. You tell them, I want you to eat hot dogs, but I want you to really savor them, to really enjoy them and incorporate them on purpose into your diet. It's the damnest thing. People eat less when you do that. They eat less than just say no, and you can't have any of the things that you really enjoy. That actually brings people to overeating and to compulsive overeating. It's just the opposite of what we've all been taught. The diet industry tells us just say no, and it's crazy, right? In one sense, you have Dr. Ornish telling people eat their long clippings. On the other side, you have Atkins telling people eat the bacon grease, and that ought to send a message to the public that we are confused, and we need to be a little more practical about all this if you have such extremes out there.
Well, practical is also another hallmark of this book. I mean, again, when it comes time, yes, people ask you very serious questions in here. You've got very serious concerns about lung cancer, about kidney disease, about aging and the results. But then you've got the very practical questions. What about my son who picks his nose? And is it okay to pee in the shower? I don't want to trivialize them. Those are at the very back of the book. Those are kind of the miscellaneous kinds of questions. The book is very substantive, but you really do cover the gamut of everything people can ask you.
Yes, and I've heard it all pretty much. It's a rare day, and I enjoy it, by the way, when there's a question I've absolutely never heard or a question I don't know the answer to. That's how I learn. But people will often start, oh, I'm so embarrassed, and I've never heard this come up on your show before, and they go on. And it's something really that's on a lot of people's mind. Some of the things you mentioned. There has been a study on nose picking, believe it or not, and it's a pretty common human trait that never gets discussed.
Well, now there's other things that people my age, our age, might not have had to deal with that now parents do have to deal with. My daughter, 23, got her tongue pierced. It would never have occurred to me to stick a sharp object on purpose all the way through my tongue. And yet to her, this is not only a good thing, it's normal. A lot of her friends have this.
Absolutely. We've dealt with it in our household. I'd be curious how you handled it. I'm not sure I have all the answers there. And, you know, when I was a kid, it was if my hair was a little bit long, my father got upset with me. And now what we as parents have to deal with, and tattoos and tongue piercings, and it's challenging. It's challenging. You can't just say no to the child, and you can't get heavy with them. You may lose that battle. You may lose it. You can only try to give them the best advice you can.
Well, here's the other thing. I have to tell you, this week, probably yesterday, as a matter of fact, today's Wednesday, yesterday my daughter, who is the parent of this little girl, 8 months old, took her to have her ears pierced. And I'm thinking, 8 months old and she's having her ears pierced? Is this a good thing? I would think she'd be reaching up and yanking at them to pull them out. I mean, it can't be a healthy thing, can it?
No, and it is interesting that ear piercing is something that we do accept, and yet, you know, anything else you wanted to do to an infant would not be considered legal. A child's rights would persevere, and a court would speak for the child. But ear piercing, many cultures do it very, very early, and yet I'm wondering, where is this going to lead in that? Okay, ears. Now, suppose a parent wanted to pierce a child's nose. And it even brings us to the ultimate issue of infant male circumcision, which is an issue I've dealt with a lot over the years. And where does the child's rights supersede the rights of the parent? There are no answers except that it always changes. That little baby there is going to challenge your daughter like your daughter challenged you, and that's the ultimate get back. See, we can count on that.
I don't even want to know what she has in mind 18 years from now, but that's
I just want people to be skeptical and be very, very careful when they do something with their body. You don't get on an airplane without knowing that it's tried and true. It has been tested and retested. Yet we will jump on the craziest fads and bandwagons that have no basis in fact. Think about a courtroom where evidence is used to either convict or not to convict, and I want people to think about that when they do things to their body. And then I think that can help them steer through this morass of information and all these difficult times.
Yeah, actually, you reminded me of one thing I did want to try to sneak in before we close, and that is, I think it was one of your reports that I heard recently on what is actually if anybody's stupid enough to actually buy the male enhancement medications that they see advertised on the internet or dye pills, what exactly is in those capsules apparently is very alarming.
Yes, there's not only things that can possibly be dangerous, but it ranges to nothing in them, and people are getting rich on this. And if people will, I guess the bottom line is, a bodacious bosom and a larger penis and six-pack abs are not going to be found on an 800 number or on the internet. Anyone figures these things out, they're going to win the Nobel Prize, and we're all going to know about it. So to try to think with a little common sense, I think, can help you wade through all this.
Dr. Dean Edell is 84 now, and he lives in retirement in California. And you can get your copy of Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Healthiness by Dr. Dean Edell by tapping the link in our show notes, by clicking the link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. Heardeverything.com is where you can also find my 2011 conversation with the author of one of those diet books that Dr. Edell was talking about, the author of the South Beach Diet, Dr. Arthur Agatston.
Even though there's a consensus on how we should be eating, we're still getting fatter, sicker, achier, more depressed than ever.
And my 1995 conversation with the woman who made Buns of Steel videos popular, Tamalee Webb.
America is fat because we have convenience, convenient banking, convenient shopping, convenient this, convenient that. So I try and cover all angles.
And of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you can find us everywhere you find podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything. She was married for many years to a Hollywood icon, but she also had a television career of her own, and she had a book with advice for how to stay happily married. My 1997 conversation with the wife of actor Ernest Borgnine, Tova Borgnine.
Women must understand that by nature we are the nurturers. Men, on the other hand, are actually brought up to have their needs fulfilled.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.